Here's a practice SAT question. It does allow for the use of a calculator, although you're going to see that this one we don't really have a need for it. And what they present us with is they present us with a system of linear inequalities. The reason why it's a system is because there's more than one inequality. The reason why they're linear is if we look at the power on the x, we only have first powers, so individually these are both graph lines. So it says in the xy plane, if 0, 0 is a solution to the system of inequalities, which of the following relationships between A and B must be true? Now, if an ordered pair is a solution to the system of inequalities, that means it would show up in the shaded region if you were to solve this system by graphing. We don't really have the capability of doing that right now. We just have to kind of use some plugging in and some reasoning in order to develop this conclusion. But if 0, 0 is a solution, not only is it in the shaded region of the graph, but it must satisfy both inequalities. So if I put 0 in for both this y and this x, 0 in for this y and this x, what do those inequalities end up telling us? Well, this inequality, when I put 0 into the top inequality for y and for x, negative 0 is still just 0, and then 0 plus a is just a. So this tells us that 0 is less than a. If I do a similar sequence of steps with the second inequality, 0 goes in for the y, 0 goes in for the x. This right-hand side simplifies to b. Think about this bottom line. 0 is less than a. That tells us that a is positive. 0 is greater than b. That tells us that b has to be negative. So what we've basically been able to realize by going through this process, a is positive, b is negative. Which of these relationships must be true? Well, if a is positive and b is negative, a for sure is greater than b. This one is definitely not true, right? B is not greater than A. We don't necessarily know about the absolute values. I guess we know this is, well, I guess we can't say whether or not that's true, right? So some of these other things could potentially be true if we had more information about A and B, but we can't guarantee it based on the information we know. But what has to be true based on what we just figured out is that A is positive, B is negative. That means that this inequality has to be the one that's true of these options.